Good evening, everybody. It is 7 o'clock. We are going to call the February 11th meeting of the Common Council to order. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Noling. Here. Rote.
Here.
Turner. Here. Weigel.
Here.
Grisham. Here. Grobe.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Halverson.
Here.
Keen. Here. Novak. Here. 10 present.
We have a quorum. Please rise if you are able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led this evening by Alderwoman Noling. Thank you. We will move right on to item D, which are public hearings. We have 5 items under public hearings this evening, so I will ask the clerk to read out public hearing number 1.
Resolution to confirm and adopt the report of the city engineer containing the schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of various sidewalks by concrete reconstruction.
Thank you. And I'll turn it over to our engineering staff when you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I'm Melinda Dieske. I'm the city engineer for West Allis. With me is Rob Hutter, the assistant city engineer. And first, we're going to talk about the sidewalk repair program that we have going on in the city, potentially in the future. So for our public hearing, we are going to talk about the project scope and the cost, the assessment rates and the payment methods. We'll take comments and questions from the Common Council and then from the citizens. The public hearing then is closed and the project gets referred to the Public Works Committee for discussion and vote. And then it comes back to the Common Council, full Common Council for the final decision. So for the sidewalk repair program, we go and we look for sidewalks that have defects, cracks, heaved slabs, where the slabs are off place, they're just heaved. Settled slabs and sidewalk slabs that are displaced, kind of like heaved. So when we do the sidewalk repair work, we take out all the damaged slabs. We put forms along the side of that, put the new concrete in there, they finish it, and then you have a new sidewalk. It takes about 10 days after the sidewalk is replaced to get the sod done then. And so hopefully in 10 days to 2 weeks, you have a new sidewalk in front of your property. This is the area for 2025 that we are working on from Cleveland to the Union Pacific Railroad, 92nd Street to 108th Street. We inspect the sidewalks throughout the city every 10 to 15 years. And then depending on the funding, the sidewalk repair program occurs every 15 to 20 years in different neighborhoods. So there's benefits to having your sidewalk replaced. The broken, raised, or settled sidewalks that are creating hazards get removed. The sidewalk is easier to shovel if it's not heaved, easier to keep ice off of it, which are both required to be cleared by city ordinance. The city avoids lawsuits from people tripping over the defective sidewalks. Approximately 1,900 properties were inspected, with 356 properties needing sidewalk repairs. Our total project cost is approximately $300,000. And the last area time that we were in this area was 19 years ago in 2006. The city does have a special assessment policy. So we do special assess for this type of work. We do the work. We figure out if maybe one less slab was taken, maybe one more slab was taken. So a final bill will not be mailed out until March of 2026. There's a couple payment options for the special assessment. A lump sum payment if your assessment is under $100. And a 5-year installment plan if it's between $100 to $250, or you have 10 years if it's over $250 for the special assessment. So we've done a little bit of an example. So if your bill is $250 over a 10-year period and the city does charge 4% interest, Your first payment would be $35, and your last payment would be $26. The city does charge interest on that because the city borrows the money, and we have an interest rate, so we have to cover that interest rate, and that's what we charge in this special assessment. The city of West Allis has historically done special assessments for over 110 years. And we do that because the properties that we special assess are
They do reset on us once in a while.
there we go, connected. So on this project, the city will collect approximately $140,000 in special assessments, or about 47% of properties, no matter how high or low the bid prices are. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
So regardless of what our bid prices are, the rate that we charge per foot, or per square foot is the same. And again, not only has the city done special assessments for over 110 years, but state law has allowed us to do so. The main reason that cities do special assessments is because it treats everybody equally and fairly. Tax exempt schools, Wisconsin State Fair, churches, hospitals, county parks, We Energies, if they own property, they all pay their fair share. So they all have to pay a special assessment. If the money's, the charges, the cost of the project is lumped into the tax base, those properties don't pay taxes, and then that burden is put more onto the taxpayers. So there are 430 properties in West Allis that don't pay property taxes and would not be paying their fair share into the project. So this method treats everyone equally. Construction, we have a construction in progress report that you can get updates on the progress of the project. It is the most up-to-date way to get information. We also send out letters before the project starts so that everybody knows when it's going to start, who the contractor is, how to contact the city if there's concerns or questions. And then this construction in progress report keeps you up to date on how the project is progressing day to day, week to week. So you can sign up for that on the city webpage here, and it'll also be in the letter that we send to everybody if the project moves forward. And with that, that concludes our presentation.
Thanks very much. Are there questions from the members of the Common Council on our first public hearing? Okay, seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the members of the audience on our first public hearing? If you wish to ask questions, please come up to the podium and please sign in. Please announce your name and address before you speak, and then please sign in with your name and address either before or after your comments.
Gordon Volz, 2411, excuse me, 2411 South 93rd Street. Questions, you've mentioned replacing the sidewalks. Our bill got two different amounts for two different slabs, I guess.
Okay.
Is one going to be replaced, or is the other one going to be ground off?
One thing we can do, and we do also do, and if it's not a severe displacement or heaving, we can grind some of the sidewalk off if it's a smaller displacement. So, and we do assess for that as well. So we may be grinding a slab, and we may be, we would have to look specifically on there, but we can also grind.
Because my wife and I walk around a lot, and we see the yellow markings where they mark these slabs. And they'll have X's, which I assume they're going to be replaced. And then they have some with G's, which I assume is grind.
Yes.
I guess my question is, how did they determine, at least on one of my slabs, that it couldn't just be ground? And is that would be a lot cheaper than replacing it, I assume?
We look at, the amount of displacement, if it's sloped properly, some slabs are sloped back towards the property instead of sloped towards the street. So if that's the case, and we can have someone come out and look and talk to you specifically at your property, after the snow. And evidently there may be a crack slab that we can't grind either, so.
Okay, and then one final question. One of the slabs that's scheduled to be done is literally right on the lot line, more on the neighbor's lot line. And I'm being charged for 2 slabs here. How did they determine I pay for it?
I think we try to look for where that property line is, and we do try to divide slabs. So, and we try to do it based on square foot. So if we need to come out and again, talk with you specifically about your property, and we can show you then how we did that, that's probably the best way. We can talk to you one-on-one on that.
Okay, and who do I contact for the?
If you call for the engineering department, it would be either Rob or myself.
Okay.
You can ask.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
William Frohl, 1000 South 62nd Street on Mineral Corner. You guys replaced slabs before and replaced the curbs, and they never got rid of the tree stumps properly, and I'm getting mushrooms growing up underneath the sidewalk. They put new curbs in, they didn't fill it in with the right amount of dirt and sod, so now it's like a dip. Now, is that gonna be all replaced when you do Mineral Street?
Technically, that's the other public hearing, but I don't know, do you want me to address it now?
Well, it's part of the sidewalk too.
Well,
Sure, if you want to, yeah.
oh, okay.
He's up there.
Sure, I just don't want to, I want to do things
can come
procedurally
back up.
okay, so. We'd have to look specifically at your property, but we are doing, Mineral as a full reconstruct, so we are pulling
Correct.
all the pavement out, all the curbs and gutter, the sidewalk, so if it's within that project area, we would make it, fill it in and do it, get it restored to what it should be. But again, we could take a look at your specific concerns.
Right, well, they cut a tree out, they took a big tree down, they chopped it down level, and then they put sidewalk over the top of it, and put a
Okay.
baby tree there that they had to replace 3 times before it grew, and now I'm getting 3 big mushrooms all over the sidewalks that I gotta dig out like 4 times a year.
Okay. We would have to come in, we'd have to talk to you specifically about your specific situation, but we're planning on taking all the sidewalks out along Mineral and replacing them. So if there's something under there that isn't supposed to be there or needs to be removed, we would do it with the project.
All right, I have one more question, I'll wait till you guys get to the street.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the members of the studio audience on public hearing number 1? Okay, we will close our first public hearing, and we will move on to public hearing number 2, and I will ask the clerk to read out that item.
Resolution to confirm and adopt the report of the city engineer containing the schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of various streets by concrete reconstruction.
Thank you, and I'll turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Mayor. So this public hearing is about, it involves 5 different streets. West Lincoln Avenue from South 93rd Street to South 96th Street, which is also a WSDOT project. West Orchard Street from South 60th Street to South 63rd. West Mineral Street from South 60th Street to South 64th Street. South 91st Street from West Rogers to the dead end, and South 83rd Street from West Grant to West Beecher Street. Essentially, it's the same process that we're going to go through for this public hearing. For street reconstruction, it's similar to sidewalk where we are looking at streets that have severe pavement deterioration, different types of cracking. The cracking we show here is what's called alligator cracking, and we're at essentially the end of the pavement's life cycle. Other things that we look for when we look for streets to reconstruct are the condition of the pipes underneath the ground. In all these streets, the water, the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer are very old. The water mains are 90 to 100 years old. They will be replaced with new copper piping or HDPE piping. And we'll also look at lead service laterals in these areas and replace the public side, and talk with residents about opportunities to replace the private side. New storm laterals will be installed and new storm sewers will be installed since those are from the 1910s and 20s. And then the new sanitary sewers will be installed because, again, they are also 90 to 100 years old. So we have the approximate cost for each project listed here. This is Lincoln Avenue. You can see on Lincoln Avenue, because it is a WSDOT project, the city has a portion of that project, and then WSDOT also has a portion of that project. Orchard Street, the cost we are estimating at $900,000. Mineral Street is $1.1 million. 91st Street is $900,000. And 83rd Street is just over $1 million. For the street reconstruction, this is a breakdown of the different funding sources. So you can see on here that the special assessments for all the projects are $474,000, and property taxes cover $2.5 million. Our sanitary sewer utility covers almost $1.3 million. The water utility covers a portion at $1.7 million. And the stormwater utility covers just under $1 million, $900,000. And then again, the WSDOT portion of 93rd Lincoln Avenue. We did a similar thing that we did for the sidewalks, where we have an estimated example for a residential special assessment. If your lot is 60 feet wide, the assessment rate for a road is $69.67 per foot. So the property owner's cost would be $4,180.20. And then if there's a driveway approach, that's an addition of $8.70 per square foot if the driveway approach is there and has to be replaced. Again, the bills will not be mailed out till the construction is done, and that won't be till March of 2026. And for streets, there's two payment options, well, three. You can do a lump sum payment, you can do a 5-year or a 10-year installment plan. So here's the example. If you do a 10-year installment plan with 4% interest, your first year payment will be $585, and your last year, the 10th year payment would be $434. And again, that interest is because the city borrows and is charged interest on the money we borrow, and so we have to cover that interest rate as well.
Just a quick question. If you would move.
Sir, we'll have time for questions after the hearing. No, you're good.
Okay. And we talked about it in the sidewalks where, the city and the state have been doing special assessments for a very long time. On these street projects, the special assessments will be covering $474,000, which is 7.3% of the total city cost, or 4.4% of the total project costs. So it's, the other funding sources are picking up quite a bit of the cost of the overall project. But special assessments treat all property owners fairly. The construction schedule for the streets, we're finalizing our designs now. In the spring, we'll bid the projects and bring contracts forward to the Common Council for award. And then projects start in early summer with the underground work, and then the street comes after that, and then they wrap up in fall. We give everybody, we send a notice out to every property owner when the project's going to start with contact information and what to expect kind of with the project, like where to park when the street, you don't have access to your driveways, and, you know, how the construction process kind of goes, what to do with garbage, all different kinds of things. And again, we recommend that you sign up for the construction in progress report on the website. We do update that every few days, at least once a week, and it is the most up-to-date information on the project and the contractor's schedule. And that concludes the presentation on this public hearing.
Mayor Devine.
There we
Mine's
go.
working.
All right. Questions from the members of the Common Council? Alderwoman
Mayor.
Keene?
Melinda, can you speak to what happens when construction is going on? How many times during a project a resident might not be able to access their street? And then how that parking looks when it comes to enforcement on parking and if permits are required? Could you just speak a little bit to that?
Sure, sure. So as, when we build the street, we start with the underground work. So we start with the pipes underground. There'll be trenches in different areas of the street. Sometimes it'll be in the middle, sometimes it'll be slightly off to the side. By the end of those days, you would have access to your driveway. During the day, you may not, because the trench is open and the equipment is moving around, but by the end of the day, you would have access to your driveways. Once that underground work is done, then the street work begins. Typically, by the end of the day in there, you would have access to your driveways, probably not during the day again, but it's really not until they start setting what they call string line, or the way they put the curb in. It's done, the machine has a little finger that runs along a string to get the proper grade, and that's when you wouldn't be able to access your driveway because you can't drive over the new curb. So it's a 2 to 3 week process in there where between the curb, it needs time to get its strengths, which is about 7 days, and then they'll set up they'll regrade and get the road ready for the final pavement, the concrete pavement, which also has to then sit for 7 days till it gets its strength, so that's 2 weeks right there. And then they have to do the driveway approaches and sidewalks. So it's about a 3.5 week time period towards the end of the project that you don't have access to your driveways. During that time, you can park around the area, different side streets. You do not need a permit. We notify the police department that the construction project is going on, and then they don't ticket as long as you're adhering to the parking restrictions. So if you're supposed to flip from one side to the other, depending on what day it is, you do have to follow that, but you do not have to get a parking permit for the duration of the project. Is that, okay.
Thank you. Any other questions from the members of the council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Halverson.
Melinda, and this might be a weird question, is there a reason why sidewalk versus street reconstruction, I can pay a lump sum to get everything paid off with a special assessment as a property owner with street reconstruction, but there's a $100 limit for sidewalk?
Maybe Rob knows. I honestly don't know that answer.
I'm not sure if I'm getting the question right, but I think if it's under $250 or under $100 for that sidewalk, it's just a lump sum, just because it's not.
But why? Alderman Havers.
Why?
Why can't I pay the whole lump sum if it's $250? Why? I'd be inclined to pay $250.
Oh, you can.
Oh, okay.
You can.
Sorry, I misread
I'm
it
sorry.
then.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, you can
It's
pay.
automatically $100. It's paid as a lump sum.
Yes.
Got it.
Anybody can pay the whole assessment, whether it's $3,000 for a street or $250. You can pay that as a lump sum anytime. So.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council members? Okay, seeing none, are there any questions from the members of the audience? No. And again, please give us your name and address for our record and sign in either before or after your comments. Thanks.
Katie Barksdale, 2154 South 83rd Street. One question, if we move, if we have the payment plan for the street and then we end up moving, what does that mean? Do we still have to pay it?
The balance becomes due. So then you work that out through your, the real estate agent and the title company.
Okay.
The city gets notified, and then they work out that, and then you and the seller work out that payment.
Okay, and as far as the, maybe I didn't hear this part, you'll do the street, but then what happens to the grass and the sidewalk? Do you redo all of that?
Yes, yes, we
Okay,
do.
So all of
But
that's
the road can be open for more access when we do that part of it. So,
okay, and then that's also included in this estimate, is the
Yes.
sod and all of that that's put in?
Yes.
And will there be trees that are taken out when you have to redo
We try to save the trees, and in fact, when we do the sidewalk, we put in what's called a tree arc. We make the sidewalk only 4 feet, and we put a big arc around it so that the roots have a little more room to grow.
Okay.
And hopefully won't impact the sidewalk so much.
Okay.
So we do try to save as many trees as we can.
Okay, and one last question. On ours, it does have the driveway approach. How do you decide, like, because it sticks too far out into the street, like, how do you guys decide that our house needs that?
I think every driveway approach needs to be removed and replaced because we
Okay.
changed the grade of the road a little bit.
Okay.
So every driveway approach on a project gets redone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. Good evening. My name is Francisco Duchisela. I live on 2131 South 33rd Street. I'm a retired registered civil engineer with 40 years of experience in the industry. I work with WISDOT out of Waukesha and Caltrans out of San Diego, mainly on road improvements and rehabilitation on highways and bridges as well. And I walked 83rd Street in front of us, the segment that is supposed to be proposed to reconstruction, concrete reconstruction. I looked online, and I haven't seen any preliminary design plans nor specifications on what you're going to do on our street. And I'm wondering if that is something you're going to provide to us at a later time, or is there somewhere where we can look? Right now, all we have that I've seen, at least, that has been on the internet are just schematic cross pictures out of GIS. We have, at least I don't have any idea what you're doing on our streets.
Sure.
Now you're talking, and the proposal here says that you're going to do concrete replacement. Water and sewer replacement is separate, may come in another bill. And I haven't been able to look, now I'm hearing that you're replacing sidewalks and trees as well, and that's not in your proposal from February the 11th that was provided to Common Council. So I'm wondering if you have some type of plans. I don't know where you're at 10%, 30%, 90%, or you have final design plans and final specs that we can take a look at section by section. I understand that some areas are different than others, perhaps because the water system, sanitary system could be less than 90 years of age, and you may not touch them. Per your diagram, you said that you're going to address only those 90 or 100 years of age or older. Is there a way that we can look at specifically at what you're doing, at least on 83rd Street?
Sure. So with all the streets, we will be replacing the sewer, all the water, and all the storm sewer in the street. It is part of the plans, and that's part of what's been included in, there's no other special assessment for those items. We don't, the city doesn't special assess for those items.
Go ahead.
The utility covers those items. Okay, so there's no later bill for the utility work. The street We are in the process of designing now, but it is a full reconstruct. So we will be removing all the pavement, all the curb and gutter, all the driveway approaches, and all the sidewalk. We aren't planning on taking any trees unless there would be some reason unforeseen at this time that we would take one, but at this moment, there is no plan to take any tree. When the plans are ready to be bid out, we can contact you and you can come and take a look at those plans, but we don't have them finalized today. Because of the assessment method, it's a per foot, and we were doing a full reconstruct, and we're going across the entire front of your property, we can do the special assessment estimate ahead of the plan preparation. But we will have plans and specifications in the near future, and we can reach out to you so that you can come take a look at them.
Will the water and sewer replacement that you're foreseeing on 83rd Street, are they going to be a separate bill, or are
No.
they included on this special assessment?
There's no special assessment for utility work. The utilities cover that cost. The only improvement that the city special assesses for is the street, the curb, and the sidewalk replacement. That's included in the $69 per foot rate, and then the $8 per square foot rate is for your driveway approach.
Do you know if you're going to be replacing sewers and waters on 83rd Street from Grant to Beecher, where we live?
Yes, we are.
That means they're all over 90 years of age?
Yes.
And I have a question too, as far as the reconstruction with concrete.
Okay.
Why do you need to have concrete on? It's very expensive. Do you need to have that replaced so that you can get to the sewers and waters, or can you just do a mill and hot mix asphalt overlay with binders and tackles and all of that?
If we weren't replacing the utilities under the street, we could probably do that. But by the time we dig 3 different trenches in that concrete street, it will basically not be a good street to mill and overlay. You'll have too many running trenches to try to have the asphalt bridge that.
Understand.
So a full replacement is necessary in this instance.
Do you have plans that we can see?
We are developing them now.
Where are you, in what stage? Is it a planning stage, at 10%,
No,
or higher?
30? 75%.
That's pretty
So,
high.
again, when they're done, we can contact you. If you give us your name and a phone number after the hearing, we can contact you and you can come in and we can sit down and go over them.
Is there a way that they are available on the platform where we can all just go see what you're doing?
We haven't,
We
we'd
would
have
like
to
to
look
know-
at how, we haven't done that in the past, so we would
would
have to look at how we would do that. I don't know how we would do that right now. It's not that we can't do it, I just don't know.
Just PDF it and put it in part of the, as you do the agenda meetings, just put it there, just to take a look at how
Sure.
each one of us is impacted.
Yep.
Because you do say you have design plans and specs, but when we go in there, we don't see any of that. We just see the schematics on the GIS. It would be interesting and really nice for us to see, since we're paying $4 or $5 grand
Sure,
on a special assessment, to see that.
okay. We can, again, we'll get your phone number and then we'll figure out a way to get those to the internet.
And I'm also wondering about the special assessment as a whole. Why is it a special assessment and not part of our tax payments, property tax payments? Because it doesn't just affect us, benefit us directly. Not each one of us. It's not a street light that we put in front of us. It's a corridor that leads to the whole city of West Allis and beyond. So I'm just wondering,
Sure.
and I know the amount that you're talking about, $400 and some thousand dollars, is a good amount in relation to the whole big picture. I understand that, and we appreciate it. But we have had taxes increase 30% in the last 2 years. We haven't had taxes increase for a long time. And this catching up is hurting some people. And who knows what's going to happen in the next few years with, when you improve this, you're going to assess these residences higher, we're going to get higher taxes.
So the special assessments, cities in West Allis specifically use this special assessment method, which is allowed by the state of Wisconsin, to treat all the properties equally. Tax exempt properties don't pay taxes, so they won't participate in paying for roads and sidewalks and curb and gutter if the costs of the road projects are in the tax base, because they don't pay taxes. So by doing it this way, we can special assess any tax exempt property that we would reconstruct the road in front of, and then they have to pay their fair share. So last year, we reconstructed South 77th Street, and we special assessed State Fair Park just under $50,000. And they'll have to pay that special assessment, but they're tax exempt, and they don't pay any taxes to the city. So we do it to try to treat all the property owners equally because they all use the roads. So,
Exactly. Is there a way to look into this special assessment further as opposed to being part of the tax base itself? Have you made a decision? Is the Common Council made a decision? How does that go about? That you already put a special assessment and not as part of the tax that we have been made to pay 30% higher in the last 2 years? It seems that the tax is for road repairs. This could be considered a road repair.
The Common Council has set the policy of special assessing. The engineering department has the responsibility to follow that policy until we're told otherwise by the Common Council. And that's the best I can answer at this point.
Melinda, if I could, just, this was in the presentation as well. This catches every county park, every school, every church that all utilize the services that we're all paying for, but they're not paying for them because they're tax exempt. So by getting them to contribute something to the equation in this form is, I think, the biggest advantage. You can always call your council members and ask if there's a willingness to change that policy. I was just going to also ask you respectfully if you have a lot of people lined up behind
Sure.
you, and I don't want to leave
That was
them.
my last question.
He is asking phenomenal questions, and if you guys are content standing, you can keep going, but we have a lot of people here, and I feel we have a lot of questions, and I'm not giving you the boot, but I'm just asking if you can, Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate again, thank you, and sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're asking great
I just
questions.
want to reiterate
And I want to
to-
actually put you on the Capital Improvements Committee once we have an opening too, so.
Thank you. No, I'm not interested. I'm retired. I have like 12 grandkids. My wife is here. We have lots of kids. So, but we're concerned because it seems that it could be a domino effect down the line. It could become a precedent for a lot of streets, neighborhood streets that may not need a full replacement, that they have newer pipes. There you go. You're gonna get paid. You're gonna pay $4 or $5 grand. So I'm just thinking about that. If there's a way that you can look at a special assessment a little bit more carefully, and not just kind of assign this reconstruction that may not be necessary. We do need to maintain the roads all the time. It's obvious 83rd Street needs maintenance. I've seen it. It's got the cracks everywhere on the sides, on the curves, but not on the middle. So it does need to be looked at. They all do.
Yeah,
But
and
it seems that maybe a hot mix asphalt overlay may be the answer, and maybe pipes and sewers may not be required. So if there's I guess I'll talk to the alderman a little bit more and go from there.
That sounds great.
All right, thanks.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
I was up here before.
Yep.
I got about 8 neighbors that we all live on the corners of Mineral. And my best friend lives on 86 off of Greenfield, and his was only $4,600 for his road improvement. And it looks like ours is gonna be like $5,600, right around there. Now, are you guys gonna come around and do all our water in front too? Because the majority of our houses have the city water coming in the front off of 62nd Street.
So this is gonna be my question actually, and he's my neighbor, but, so our sewer laterals empty
Are you,
on?
sorry, are you signed in?
Yes.
Okay.
Our sewer laterals empty onto Mineral Street, but our water comes in off the adjacent street on the other side where there's no road construction. So I guess the real
62nd.
question is, yeah, the question is, and I guess I'll direct this.
Yeah, go to the engineers, please.
Is that going to be redone as part of this project, or are the water mains going to wait until that street is redone?
So the water mains, we're just looking at our GIS. The water mains are on the number streets.
Correct.
So,
Sewer laterals under mineral.
right, so the sewer would be done when we do mineral. But any water that is in the number street, we would wait till the number street. But we're not going to tear up new pavement to do,
There's no new pavement there.
well, so if you replace the water lateral and go through an intersection on mineral, we're not going to rip up new pavement for that. We would look at that one section of water main and relay that one section of water main across mineral. So, but we're not doing the number streets. We're not doing the water in the number
So
streets.
the water mains won't be done this time.
Right.
Not on the number streets, no.
That'll be a
If there's
separate
anything in mineral, and it needs to be replaced, we would replace it, so. Yeah,
But then
yep.
it's like, we're still getting billed for that in this proposal, right?
No, the water and the sewers are covered by the utilities. So, no, they're owned by the local, they're owned by West Allis. So, but there's a sanitary utility, a water utility, and a stormwater utility, and they all cover the cost for all those pipes in the ground.
Okay, then, everybody from north of Mineral is gonna have to park south of Mineral, and you have handicapped people over there, one myself, and there's gonna be like no parking, and it's just gonna be a big cluster.
We understand that, and we were working on a plan. We did it on a street last year where we gapped the construction by the alleys, and so that people could access, like drive from south to north through the alley. And we had the contractor gap that till the very last second, and then it was a much shorter time period that people didn't have access to their property. So we're trying real hard not to box anybody out.
So we can park on our front lawn if we have to?
I'm sorry?
We can park on our front lawn if we have to? Well, I'm just wondering, because it's like most of us live right on the alley, so you're gonna do the alley approach, our garage approach, redo all the sidewalk and the curbs that you guys put in there already, all the new stuff?
So we're not gonna go up the alleys, we're just gonna go along Mineral, but there will be a point where the approach to the alley is closed, and we will work with the contractor so that you either can get across on the street or you can get across on the alley. We're not gonna block both at the same
Right, I
time.
understand that, but it's like my house is right here. There's an alley approach right next to mine, then my neighbor back there, his approach is right next to that. So our garage is face, our entrance faces
Sure, there's some
north.
that face Mineral, right.
Yes.
So, some of that, I'm not exactly sure how the contractor, some of that's means and methods, and they kind of pick, but we will work with you, and we will work with the contractors to try to keep access as much as possible, so.
Anything else, George? Okay.
Thank you.
I am Abby Kazel Thresher. I live on the corner of Mineral and 62nd, just like everybody else. And I just had a little question about the $69 per square foot number. I know when you talked about the sidewalks, you said that that price was going to remain $3.70 no matter what. Is that the same for this street construction, or is
Yes.
that able to be flexible?
No, that's the set rate by the council for this year,
Okay, that is set, and
the $69.
so it sounds like you guys are gonna make pretty sure that you aren't gonna keep us blocked off from our properties for too long.
We will minimize it as much as we can.
And then generally about how far in from the sidewalks and everything do you go? Like, say I have a garden, like how far back do I need to have my produce garden
Behind
this year?
we go up to the property line, which is about a foot to 2 foot behind the sidewalk.
In this case, it's quite, on Mineral, it's quite a bit.
Yeah, actually, the right-of-way there is significantly beyond. Typically, we would go a foot or two beyond the sidewalk.
A foot or two beyond, so,
But if we see something that we think will impact the construction, we will notify you ahead of time.
okay, that's good. And then, yeah, just as far as the special assessment thing goes, as my friend who spoke earlier said, everybody in the community benefits from this. We haven't lived in this house for 100 years. We haven't been using these sewers for 100 years, and we're not going to use them for 100 years. This benefits everybody who's going to move into this city. This benefits the people who are going to be buying the Alice Chalmers complex and developing and trying to have more beautiful roads and better sewers for the people that they want to rent out to. So, I think reevaluating the policy of this special assessment and putting these very sudden, and while it might not seem like it's a lot of money to a city, $6,000 to me is a lot of money. And just having that come out of nowhere and just being like, yeah, you have to pay this. This is yours no matter what. Doesn't matter if you sell this. Doesn't matter if you lived here for 4 years, you're still paying the full bill. Like, that kind of sucks. And doesn't really seem like it's spreading the wealth evenly. Kind of just seems like it's incentivizing development and gentrification. So, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Chris. I live at 1001 South 61st. I'm their neighbor. We all came here. We planned ahead. I just had a question. Most of them have been answered regarding my trees. I don't want those cut down. Who do I have to talk to prevent that? Do I just come talk to you guys afterwards? Can I get a heads up of when an assessor's coming by?
So the trees right now, I don't think are scheduled to come out. But we can certainly have the forester go out and verify that and let you know.
Cool. What's the plan for trash? I know they're trash trucks got to cut across. I don't know if they're going to be able to cut across when it's gapped like that.
We're working with DPW on a plan for
Okay.
that. So, but we will put that in the notice that we send you if the project moves forward. We put that kind of information in that notice that we send you, so.
Cool.
And then we can also give notices during the project if something changes.
Cool. And then I know you're not gonna, but the liquor store, County Beer and Liquor, which I love and I'm a frequent patron of, people are always turning around in the intersection of 61st and Mineral, and you should put a roundabout there or something, because it's very annoying. And I think that would really help with traffic. I know you're not gonna, but I just want to make sure it's heard.
We might. We actually look at.
Hell yeah.
All right, that's, but that is something that we can look at if that's something that the neighborhood would
Yeah.
be in favor of. We do have traffic circles and different traffic calming techniques that we use. And if that's an intersection that people feel is impacted by people doing U-turns in that
Yeah.
traffic, that intersection, it's something that we certainly can take a look at in our
Yeah,
planning.
there's almost an accident every weekend, so.
Okay. Oh, it's very good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, but cool. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. Cliff Hale. I'm on the dead-end block of 91st Street, and you said you'd address the issue. I'm the second last house in the dead end, so when it comes garbage and recycling time, are we going to have to take our carts all the way down to Beecher Street?
So, again, we're trying.
You're working on it, yeah.
We are coordinating with DPW. We've done it a couple of different ways in the past where we've had dumpsters where people have carried their garbage to the dumpster, but we're working with them to maybe access that street for a much longer period, and just when the concrete pavement is there, that garbage would have to be hauled out when the trucks can't actually physically drive down there. But it might hopefully just be a very short time.
Yes, because as you know, we don't have an alley, as
Right.
a Plan B.
Right.
The second minor question was, I'm a little befuddled by, if I would sell my house, why the rest of the assessment wouldn't be taken on by the new homeowner, because they're going to benefit in the long run, where I would just get the short end.
The city gets made whole. The city gets made whole, and that's a requirement, as I understand it. And it's really between you and the seller, how you agree to pay the special assessment. The city just needs to get made whole.
Oh, okay.
The city doesn't dictate who pays it. It just is, the city just gets made whole from somebody.
Okay, and last but not least, I was a longtime operations manager with the parks, so I was involved with a lot of capital improvement projects, and I was the middleman. My big problem was lack of oversight of the contractors by our DPW with the parks, contractors, lack of oversight with subcontractors. I'd say about over all the years I worked, 90% of the capital improvement projects were abysmal as far as timelines going. Is there going to be, because West Allis is smaller than the entire Milwaukee County, is there going to be more immediate oversight? Because the block directly south of us from Beecher to Rogers a couple years ago, one of our neighbors got involved even though it wasn't her block. There were weeks where the contractors weren't even there working on the street. It was like driving on a country road.
So a lot of times what the city will do is hire one contractor to do several projects in the city.
That's
and
what they
then-
were doing.
And then depending on temperatures and weather and things like that, they might be contracted to do 91st by, down the street from you, but then they also would be working on something on 86th and Lincoln or, other things. So if you don't see them at one, they're most likely working on the other. And I don't want to overstep my speaking here from engineering, but we have our contracts with deadlines, and the deadlines reflect the price. And we could do a tighter deadline, but it's going to cost a lot more. So when we put these deadlines in, they're expected to complete the work by those deadlines. Otherwise, they would incur penalties. And but chances are, if you don't see them for a week, it's because they're on another job, or they're waiting for, depending on the time of year, waiting for the temperature to get warm enough for concrete to cure, or
Or we've had a lot of rain and they need to
Rain.
let the soil dry out a little more, or the
This was
gravel
kind of
dry
an
out.
anomaly, though. I mean, it was weeks and weeks of beautiful weather. I can understand going to another project, but, who's picking the poison? Which one are you going to actually work on?
sure. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Pete Katurkis. I live at 2107 South 83rd Street. My question, or questions pertain to lead service line and also sewer lateral. You mentioned that, so you're replacing the whole, I guess down the street, the whole, the big sewer line, right?
Yes.
And the big water main, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't, you're not doing anything to the laterals to the houses, correct?
We will be replacing the lateral to the curb stop,
Okay,
and then we will, and then the next year, we'll come with a contract to do from the curb stop into your property, if you have a lead service on the private side.
okay, so that's the lead so is there anything I need to do for that? How do I go about, is that, you said, because the sewer and the water was included with the utility.
Right. So for the private side lead service, there is a special assessment
Okay.
for the private side if you have one.
Yeah,
But that's not included in this project, and we'll talk about that with the next year project,
okay.
or a future year project. In the interim, we will provide a water pitcher and filters.
I have
you,
I have an RO
so-
filter. I was just wondering
so-
what the.
So
you're-
that's the process.
So I have this straight. You're replacing from the street to the property line, basically, somewhere in there, right?
Right,
On the leads, on the service line,
on the public side.
public side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then later on, you're saying, then there would be a different program or whatever to
Yep.
do.
Right.
And you would work with me on that. I
Yep.
could come to you guys for that, whatever.
Yep.
And then for the sewer, so I had my last year I had root intrusion and the whole, I had a cured in place pipe. It was $20,000 to do this whole complete sewer reline and dig up half my basement and stuff. So, you're replacing the sewer lateral as well. So that part that I had done then from because they relined it all the way out to the street, basically. How does that?
We'll have to look at that one.
Okay.
Specifically, and we'll have to look at that one, so,
Okay.
and we can reach out to you with how we're gonna address that one.
Is there can I because, how do I do that? How do I get that going, or how do I follow up on that? Who do I follow up on that with? Right,
Just see me after the public.
Okay,
hearing.
all
And
right.
if you can't wait, I can give you my.
yeah, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Swees. I live at 9232 West Lincoln Avenue. My wife and I are both here. So 2 to 3 years ago, we had the street construction, reconstruction and sidewalk reconstruction out front of our house along Lincoln Avenue went down to 92nd, I think further than that, but I don't remember specifically. But they did the whole 9 yards, the sewage, the street, the sidewalk, all the way through the intersection of Lincoln and 93rd. So I guess we kind of feel like we're being double charged in our instance. I don't know if it's because we're at the intersection. I'm just kind of curious why we're even involved in this, because our sidewalk was completely torn up. We paid for that. All of the piping was redone on Lincoln, right in front of our house. So I guess we're kind of confused.
I think there's some work on 93rd. We'd have to look specifically, but there was a couple that were involved in the project from before, a couple of years ago. But there's some radius on the side street that's being redone as part of the other half of the intersection, because part of it, I think on the main line, I don't know if they went all the way through or just part way through, but on the side streets, they didn't get all the way through. So when they do the curb ramp on the west side of the side street, they also are doing some work on the east side of the side street. And I think that's where maybe some of the charges are coming from.
Okay,
But we could sit down and look at that specifically with you, because that's a really unique thing.
Yeah, I kind of figure. I know it probably doesn't relate to most people here, just because we are on the east side, on like the northeast corner. So we are, our street where it touches Lincoln was completely redone.
I totally actually asked about your project, and so that's why I'm thinking it's something on the side street. So, but we can certainly, if you give us your phone number, we can certainly reach out and have a conversation with you.
Thank you. And then one other quick question. There's the 2 improvements. I see street reconstruction and then street reconstruction code long side. And the long side part says 40% we're responsible for, whereas the regular street construction is 100%. I guess what's the difference there?
So in the policy that the city has, if you have part of the long side of your property, so let's pretend your property is 30 by 120, the long side is 120 feet. The city applies a reduction code so that you don't pay 100% of 120 feet. You pay 40% of the cost of 120 feet. And then the short side is the 30, and then you pay 100% of that. To try to, just balance it out. And because corner properties have 2 streets that they get assessed off of. So they're trying to make that equitable to just a property that would only have one side of their lot on the street.
Okay, and I should just get my contact information to you after the hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is George Chaparis, and I live at 974 South 63rd Street. Got a couple of questions, few questions. How much can we expect the estimated estimate that you've given us to go up or down from prior experience?
It won't go up.
It won't go up?
This is the special assessment. This is the max unless you would either sign a waiver for additional work, and if something additional would have to happen at your property, we would work with you and you could sign a waiver and it could go up, but then we would give you an estimate of what that cost would be, and you would know that cost ahead of time, or the city would hold a new public hearing.
Okay,
But otherwise, I've never seen a new public hearing. In over 30 years of engineering.
Okay, so this estimate I got in my hand right now, you're saying it won't go higher than this? Okay. Okay. Now, another question from my neighbor directly behind me. My estimate is $5,500, and his is $12,000. Do you know why his is so much? Well, I've got his address right here.
Could you try, I'm sorry, can you try turning your microphones back on?
It was,
Just push the button on the base. Sorry. Keep resetting on us tonight.
it's based on how much frontage is on the road, driveway approaches, so they must have more frontage but
Is it based anything on duplex, triplex, or
No.
anything like that?
No.
So it's not based on that?
no,
Just on the frontage?
it's based on the frontage, so.
We've got the same frontage, you talking about the frontage on Mineral Street? Because that's what we're talking about, on Mineral Street, 63rd and 62nd and Mineral.
Again, I don't have this specific right in front of me, so we'd have to talk with them or you.
But it would just be the frontage from the alley to the 62nd Street or from the alley to 63rd Street.
Correct.
It's the same amount.
And if there's a driveway approach in there, if they have a driveway approach.
I have a driveway approach, and they have a smaller driveway approach.
Again, I'm not going to be able to answer that question right here for
Okay,
you.
all right.
We can talk either after the public hearing, or we can make an appointment to discuss it.
Okay. Now, somebody brought up the fact that, one of the neighbors brought up the fact that they keep making U-turns when they go to the liquor store. Now, what I've noticed, we've all noticed over the past 10, 15 years, that people are using that as a shortcut from 65th Street. They get off of Greenfield, come down to 64th Street, and then go to, because there's a stop sign on on Holly Road in Mineral, so they're all racing by, go back to Greenfield. Yeah, a lot of speeding, 30, 40 miles an hour. And so that roundabout idea would be, I think, a good idea to put a stop in them, put a stop on.
We can see how much space we have in there and look at
I mean,
including
you
that.
understand what's going on. From Greenfield, coming down 65th Street to Mineral, and then they speed down from, going from 65th and Greenfield all the way to Holly Road in Mineral. It's a shortcut.
Sure, sure.
Evade the stop sign.
And we
Okay.
do look at different traffic calming techniques in all our projects, so we can definitely consider a traffic circle in there.
Okay. Well, we can follow up with you on that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And all kinds of police pursuits too, so it's another, you can check with the West Dallas Police Department, and that they're always, because of that liquor store, they're having problems down there all the time, so. Okay, I believe that's it. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions on our second public hearing this evening from the audience? All right, thank you, everybody, for your participation and your questions, and we will close our second public hearing. And our third public hearing is a much more happy topic. It is pizza. So I will ask the clerk to read the public hearing notice for Toppers.
Conditional use permit for Toppers, a proposed restaurant use at 11045 West National Avenue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Steve, if you want, we'll just give everyone a minute to clear out that's on their way.
Okay.
Just so we can hear. Kale's going out there to keep him down. And now Steve's got a side comment. How long do I leave him? How long do I let him hang there? Oh, really? Oh, well. I am. Yeah. All right, Mr. Chair, when you're ready.
Thanks, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. First item is Toppers Pizza. It's a conditional use. The reason for this hearing, it would otherwise be permitted, however, given the hours of operation from 10 a.m. to early morning, 3 a.m., it does prompt a conditional use public hearing. There is another restaurant in the area, Domino's Pizzeria across the street, with hours closing at 1 a.m. That also went through a conditional use some years ago. But this Topper's Pizza was formerly located in the 1600 block of Highway 100 in the Crestwood Common Shopping Center. It closed last year and is relocating to this location under new management. The building's about 2,400 square feet, and about 1,500 of that will be for the Topper's Pizzeria. The other 900 square feet is a future tenant space, which we don't know what that tenant's going to be yet, but that will, with the changes of this building, it will be coming soon. This is the floor plan. The area on the bottom here is the 1,500 square feet for Toppers. There is no dine-in. This is purely carry-out delivery style of a restaurant. The majority of the space is for back-of-house operations, prep, and kitchen. There is an existing landscaped area, refuse area, parking spaces on site, including an ADA stall. And this is the existing site and landscaping area. It is in an outlot in front of the Home Depot shopping center. And this is a view of the building from National Avenue. It's gone through Plan Commission, and there have been no objections to date. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Scher. Are there any questions from the members of the council on public hearing number 3? Seeing none, are there any questions from the audience on public hearing number 3? Okay, seeing none, we will close our third public hearing, and I will ask the clerk to read out public hearing number 4.
Conditional use permit for Hidden Lofts, a proposed 5+ unit dwelling at 3000 block of South 108th Street.
Thank you. Mr. Scher.
Thanks, Mayor. This is a former car dealership lot, Griffin's Hub Chrysler, once upon a time, and it's been empty for a number of years. The new ownership has tried several different development scenarios, none of which really worked out with the zoning or the Highway 100 corridor plan. But there is a new owner for this site, and the new owner is looking to develop this 5.5 acres to 60 units of townhomes. They'd be developed over 5 different buildings, so 12 units per building, and the estimated value is about $10 million. This is the private real estate deal being proposed here. And then this is the overall site plan of the site. It does have access onto both Highway 100 over on the right and Oklahoma Avenue on the bottom to the south. The 5 buildings here, the darker shaded greenish blue shapes, and then the darker green areas here are the landscaped and stormwater pond, which was pre-existing to the site. The access points to the site are existing. They're not changing. So historically, they've always been here on Highway 100 and another on Oklahoma. They do provide the primary means of access to this property and the layout that you see here. There are sidewalk pedestrian connections internally within the property, and one of the conditions of the Planning Commission's approval was to add some additional connections out to both Oklahoma Avenue and to Highway 100. And it's just a view of the landscaping plan. The landscaped areas aren't colored in, so it may be a little bit hard to see. The darker gray areas here are the asphalt pavement for access to individual units, as well as attached garages to the building. There are a total of about 120 parking spaces on the site, 60 garage units, attached garages, as well as another 60 or so surface parking spaces on site. There will be perimeter landscaping on the property, as well as foundation landscaping around each of the buildings, adequate areas for snow storage around the sites, 2 centralized refuse collection areas here on the south side of the property, and then another on the southeast portion of the property. And these are some of the access ways. The red area here is an existing access way that runs to the property. So this is Highway 100 on the bottom of the screen here. And then this red dashed line is an existing pedestrian connection in front of the strip mall and then out to the sidewalk along Highway 100. The blue dashed lines both here out to Oklahoma is recommended. And then this is just another possibility for a sidewalk connection here, should it be needed, if this drive-through were ever installed at some point in the future. And just a ground view of those two areas. This is that existing sidewalk connection that runs east and west, and then in front of this, the front side of the strip mall here. And then this is a view of the AutoZone property on the left here. And then they also have a pedestrian connection out to Highway 100, but there is space here to develop potentially another sidewalk. The architectural plan, we'll get into the details of that next, but the unit mix is shown here on the bottom. There's, per building, for each of these 5 buildings, we'll have 12 units. So that consists of 2 one-bedroom units, 5 two-bedroom units, 4 three-bedroom units, and then an ADA 2-bedroom unit, totaling 12 units total. And this is just a couple of the views of the different buildings. Again, attached panelized garages with windows, balconies, the window pattern, asphalt shingles, and then just a colorized version of that. The 5 buildings will each have a unique color. This is just one example of one of the buildings, and there'll be complementary colors, so you won't have vast differences in the colors of the building. Some of the garage doors may be a slightly different color. In terms of the lower floor and the upper floor and the gabled areas may change slightly in terms of, but complementary colors. So not all of them will be exactly the same color. And that was one of the recommendations, I guess, with the Planning Commission to try some variation in some of the buildings. So again, asphalt shingles, stone accents around the entry points to the building, and then a lap siding, cementitious lap siding on the balance of the building. So Plan Commission has recommended approval, and we've received we're working through some of the details of the civil utility plan, landscaping and screening plans, a lighting plan, and as well as the pedestrian connections. The property will have bicycle storage, I guess, within the garages of the building, but then we're also asking for some additional bike racks on the site itself. The traffic calming feature internally within the site was one of the recommendations of the Planning Commission to prevent the likelihood of someone coming off of Oklahoma or Highway 100 and speeding through the site. So just to slow people down, and that can be something visual. It could be a speed table. There's different things that we can do, and we can work with our engineering department and the ownership to come up with a plan for that. And then access management, being both a county highway N, which is Oklahoma Avenue, as well as the State Highway 100. This plan has been submitted to both of those governmental entities, and they are reviewing this plan. I haven't received comments back yet, but I don't anticipate the need for a traffic study, but I mean, that's ultimately up to the county or the state if there's going to be some kind of access management improvements needed, but to date I haven't heard that. And then architecturally, the color variety is changing slightly, from the colors I showed you in the previous slide. So aside from that, I've received no objections to date, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are there any questions from the Common Council? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the members of the audience? All right, we will close public hearing 4, and I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 5.
Conditional use permit for Cd1 Price Cleaners, a proposed dry cleaning use at 2367 South 108th Street.
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Mayor. Cd1 Price Cleaners is coming to West Dallas. This will be the first of their locations at the 2300 block, just south of Lincoln Avenue on Highway 100. The property is zoned C4. The hours of operation for the typical day-to-day is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. However, they do offer a automated self-service kiosk for 24/7 access. That is accessible to the building via a PIN code or a QR code. That's when you sign the contract, or with the cleaners, they'll send that to you and give you access to the building to drop off or pick up your items for convenience. There will be 8 to 10 employees in the building, actually less than that when it's after hours, and then they're intending spring construction and then opening in the fall of this year. The overall building is about 5,700 square feet. There'll be a small retail area. I'll show you next in the floor plan. But the overall parking lot features 17 parking stalls, including an ADA parking stall. One of the driveways on Highway 100 will be closed. It's the one closest to Hayes Street here. And so the site will feature 2 access points, one on the northern portion of the site and then one on the southern portion. And then additional green space being created, and then a ramp being added, 2 ramps being added in the rear of the building, and then additional landscaping back here, as well as a solid wood fence to replace a chain link fence. The architecture is going to change for the better. This is the existing building in the upper right, and then you can see the various different elevations facing Hayes Street here. This is the southern elevation, and then the elevation facing Highway 100, which consists of a metal fiber cement panel, bracketed canopies, and then brand new windows to replace otherwise smaller windows and overhead doors. There will be one overhead door installed on the front of the building for service and access by employees, as well as another employee door here. This is the customer door here on the southeastern portion of the building. And on the western and northern portions of the building, the Planning Commission had recommended some of that architectural style to be carried around to the back side and north side of that building. And what they settled on was an updated paint scheme with some banding to carry around towards the back and the north side of the building. That's not shown here, but this is what Planning Commission had recommended, some additional banding being carried around. And this is the 2 ramp areas that are shown on the west side that will be added for service access. And those access points on the rear of the building will be used occasionally throughout the day during the daytime hours, not during the 24 late night hours. So the retail location within the building, the portion that's accessible to the public is this blue color here. The rest of it is really workflow, back of house for the dry cleaner and the different services they provide, alterations and rug cleaning and so on. But the customer kiosks and lockers will also be in here, providing customers necessary means to drop off or pick up their items. And then in terms of the work area, the service areas again being here facing the Highway 100 portion of the building, and then those 2 doors on the rear portion of the building. In terms of environmental, there is no perk. It's perk-free in terms of that chemical, which is environmentally friendly, not to use that. All of the solvents that are being used, chemicals being used, are self-contained and hauled off by a specialized waste hauler, so nothing is being discharged into our sanitary or stormwater system as a result of this use. They also encourage and use reusable totes that are biodegradable, and then encourage all customers to recycle hangers in the store. So Planning Commission has recommended approval. We're asking for some additional landscaping details on the property, but overall the site is being greened up over and above what it is today. And then commercial service operations, one of the items Planning Commission wanted was that all commercial service operations come in and out the front side, the Highway 100 side. After speaking a little bit more and understanding a little bit more about the ownerships and their business operations, this western portion here really isn't going to be used. It's very infrequently used. Dirty clothes coming in, clean clothes coming out, probably twice a day during the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. type of hours. So if council so should choose, you could place such a condition on the conditional use, which would maybe curtail a little bit of the overall restriction that Planning Commission had provided here, that everything has to come out the front and back. I think there's a space here for a little bit more flexibility, just with a better understanding from the ownership. And we can discuss that during committee. A new 6-foot double-sided wood fence or composite fence will be added along the west side, and then that architectural color band being brought around the north and west of the building. So with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are there any questions from the council on our 5th public hearing?
Mayor, fine.
Alderwoman Keene and then Alderman Weigel.
Go ahead, it's your district.
Alderman Weigel and then Alderwoman Keene.
Mayor Devine, thank you. Steve, can you go back to that west elevation? I guess my concern is now seeing these with these ramps here and the 6-foot fence. I know a 6-foot fence is what we is our limit typically, but I'm just picturing the 6-foot above grade fence, then the tops of those doors are gonna be open and any sound, not that the fence is gonna be a sound barrier per se, but I'm wondering if we could look at going to putting a 7-foot fence and or aesthetically, how would an 8-foot fence look there? Just a question, not a requirement, but I'm just wondering if that'd be just a little bit better for the neighbor to the west.
We'll certainly take a closer look at that.
Okay,
Sure.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Keene?
That was somewhat my question as well. I like the restrictions on the back that folks can't go in there 24 hours, that it should be daytime hours using that west entrance. Do they plan to have lighting in the back for those doors, which I would get for security, which maybe that goes into like the 8-foot fence of where that's lighting's going to be? Just because where that house is that like a bedroom right there where they're going to have lighting and now it's kind of intrusive to that neighbor? Do we know, or is it just going to be like an overhead, literally above the door where they're going to have a light? So I was curious what the lighting's going to be like back
Sure.
there.
One of the typical conditions of approval from the Planning Commission is to have a lighting plan submitted. So for any new exterior lights on the building, to show those locations on the building, and then noting the surrounding uses, trying to avoid nuisances. There's nothing worse than lighting complaints. Trying to make sure that there's, whether it's house side shields or direct, downward lighting, making sure it's fully cut off so that it doesn't splay beyond the property line is one of our recommendations, and we'll work to ensure that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, are there any questions from the members of the audience on our 5th public hearing? Seeing none, we will close our 5th and final public hearing, and we will move on to section E of our agenda, which is public participation. The council may receive information from members of the public during this 30-minute period. Each speaker must announce his or her name and sign in at the podium. Limit their comments of one statement to no more than 5 minutes. The council may not take action on topics raised by the speakers and will not discuss topics with the speakers. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council under citizen participation, public participation this evening? All right, we will close public participation, and we will move on to item F. Our standing committees will be meeting during recess. The room numbers are listed on the top of page 2. Therefore, if you are here for a specific item or a license or a permit from the city, please take note of those room numbers. And if you have any questions on which committee you should be in during recess, please stop one of us on the way out when we break for recess, and we'll make sure we get you into the right room. Item G is the mayor's report. I have a couple things this evening. One is I want to thank the Greater Federation of Women's Clubs, the West Dallas Women's Club, for inviting us and allowing a lot of us to serve them lunch last Friday at their Queen for a Day luncheon at Mount Hope Lutheran. And I also want to announce 2 new businesses that have opened recently. We've had ribbon cuttings. One was for Aroma Cafe, which is a Puerto Rican coffee shop on 81st and National. And the other is for K Street Cafe, which is a Korean-inspired cafe with Korean desserts and Korean street food, as well as coffee and things like that. So I want to welcome them to our community. That concludes the mayor's report. Do we have any reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine?
Oh, you two are just, whose district is it in? We're going to give this one to Alderwoman Keene first.
Mayor Devine, I just wanted to bring up that on February 22nd, between 3 to 6 p.m., La Follette Park will be having their Empty Bowls event. All the proceeds benefit food shelters around West Dallas. There's going to be soups donated by many local businesses. The Shining Strings program, the West Dallas West Milwaukee Shining Strings program will be playing. Baked goods will be available. You can bring a non-perishable food item. It'll be held in the pavilion. And again, it all benefits food pantries in West Dallas, so that's La Follette Park, empty bowls, February 22nd.
Thank you. Alderman Weigel.
Mayor Devine, last week, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation hosted their first meeting. It was a Teams meeting for local elected officials regarding the reconstruction of Highways 59 and Highways 181 within the city of West Dallas. So Highway 181 is 84th Street, and this was particularly about 84th Street from Greenfield North to the city limits. It's actually going to extend into the city of Milwaukee also. And Highway 59 is Greenfield Avenue and National Avenue. So this is Greenfield Avenue from 84th Street east to the 6 Points neighborhood where National crosses, and then jogs left and goes onto National Avenue to the east city limits. This was a preliminary meeting on this complete reconstruction, which right now is planned to be done over 2 years in, yes, 2030 and 2031. So it seems like a long way away, but this was a preliminary meeting on this. There will be a public information meeting on this, and I assume the neighbors were notified, affected properties. That meeting will be in this room 2 weeks from tonight from 5 to 7 p.m. I would suggest that everybody that lives on 84th north of Greenfield Avenue and everybody that lives or works on Greenfield Avenue from 84th Street through the downtown down to National Avenue, and then National Avenue east past the 6 Points, 60th, Kegels, all the way down to attend. This is going to be a very impactful project on the city and the residents and the businesses. I see one local business owner here. Because it's a complete reconstruction, the city will likely replace all of the utilities under the street the year before. So just like the meetings that we had, you all sat through earlier. So this construction, although it's currently scheduled for 2030 and 2031, you will see impacts the year before it starts. Now, that being said, this is a state project. It's tied to various funding sources, which may or may not be in place. And sometimes these projects do slide back in time, so it's not guaranteed to happen those years. But this is going to be a huge thing for the businesses in the downtown area, or all the businesses on Greenfield Avenue and National Avenue, and as well as the residents on 84th Street. So again, that public information meeting, and this is just the first one, is 2 weeks from tonight, February 25th, right here in this room from 5 till 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman Weigel. Any other reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine?
Alderwoman Grisham.
This is more of a public service announcement above anything. Obviously, we have a forecast that we can get anywhere from 1 to 50 inches of snow tomorrow. So with that being said, I just would like to remind the community that our DPW works very hard to make sure we're safe out on the streets. Please try to park smart. Please try to help your neighbors out and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Haas.
I move for approval of the January 28th, 2025 Common Council minutes.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there are no changes or corrections, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. We'll move on to item J.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Haas.
I move that we refer item 7 to the Economic Development Committee.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All
Mayor Devine?
Yeah, Alderwoman Grisham.
So discussion will be back to committee this evening on that?
Yes, that's the intention. Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. The item is referred. Standing committee reports. We have the Public Safety Committee. Alderwoman Grisham, the Public Safety Committee has.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. 2 items.
I move for approval of the Public Safety Committee report.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, I will ask the clerk to call a roll.
Alderperson Noling.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grove.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keen. Novak.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Then we'll move on to our consent agenda.
Mayor Devine, let's talk about item number 10.
Let's take it separate. Come on up here, Rebecca. So, as most of you know, and some of you may not, our beloved city administrator has taken a position as a city manager in the city of Oshkosh. And 10 years flew. I think back to this process, and we had so many candidates come through, and we really didn't feel strongly about a lot of them. and we're just like, they're good, they could do it, but they're not gonna hit the home run. And then we narrowed it down to 2, one of which was Rebecca. And in the second round of interviews, it became very clear that there was a strong front runner. And I remember I believe it was a Friday afternoon where former council president Lysick and I and Rebecca met at a Starbucks, and we did it in West Milwaukee so nobody could hear us talking about West Allis. And it was just very apparent then that this was the best person for this job, and there was not an ounce of regret in that hire. And I look back to, I mean, I could talk for an hour, but I won't. I just think of the within the first week of her starting, I ran out to pick up a sandwich, and I came back and she was sitting in the lobby, and I had locked her out of the office and she hadn't gotten her key yet. Sorry about that. You know, we went through the pandemic together. We went through budget after budget, and she was just continually excellent in finding Band-Aids and duct tape and things to make each budget work. And even though some of these decisions were not popular, the council and I were strong, and we all stuck together. And being elected and leading a city is about making tough decisions, and we did it. And you know, I cannot say enough good things. I did want to just share a few fun facts about Oshkosh so she can be more acclimated to her own home. In 1875, a fire destroyed 70 stores, 40 factories, and 500 homes, but it only cost $2.5 million in damages in 1875. The city was renamed after Chief Oshkosh, which means the claw. The word Oshkosh means the claw. There are more bars on Main Street than there are grocery stores in the entire city of Oshkosh. There was something, oh yeah, there's a history in Oshkosh of frog dealers. In the 1920s, apparently these frog dealers would go selling frogs at markets to science and medical, and they also have bathtub races in Oshkosh. So, good luck with that. But no, in all seriousness, I'm very proud. I am emotional. It is a win for Oshkosh, no question. It is a loss for us, but it's also a win for us because you have just done so many amazing things for this community, and everybody that lives here, works here, does business here, visits here, goes to our farmers market, checks out our restaurants. Your calm, cool demeanor, your dedication, your commitment. You've saved me from myself a couple times over the years. I just can't say thank you enough. Appreciate so much. So now I'm going to try to read this without crying. Whereas Rebecca Grill has served as city administrator for the city of West Allis for over 10 years, demonstrating exceptional This was not supposed to happen this way.
I can read it for you if you want.
No, I'm going to get through this because I prepped myself all day. Demonstrating exceptional leadership, dedication, and professionalism in overseeing the city's operations and strategic initiatives, And whereas during her tenure, Rebecca played an instrumental role in modernizing municipal codes and policies, implementing innovation technology solutions, ensuring financial responsibility while maintaining high-quality services for residents and businesses. She successfully navigated complex budgetary challenges, balanced capital improvement demands, safeguarded competitive employee compensation and benefits, all while prioritizing efficiency and accountability in local government. Whereas under her leadership, the city has seen significant advancements in transparency, operational effectiveness, long-term strategic planning, benefiting both city employees and the community at large. Her ability to collaborate with elected officials, department heads, and staff created an environment of strong governance, forward-thinking policy development, and a commitment to public service excellence. Whereas her wisdom, professionalism, and dedication have earned her the respect and admiration of her colleagues, making a lasting impact on the city of West Allis and those who have had the privilege of working with her. And whereas the city of West Allis now bids farewell to Rebecca as she embarks on her next chapter as city manager for the city of Oshkosh with their frog dealers and their bed races and bathtub races. And her presence will be greatly missed. Her influence and leadership will endure. Therefore, be it resolved that the Common Council of the city of West Allis do hereby honor and commend Rebecca Nicole Grill for her decade of outstanding service as city administrator and extends its deepest appreciation for her dedication to the city. Be it therefore resolved, the city of West Allis wishes Rebecca continued success and fulfillment in her new role, and that a suitably engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to her as a testament to her invaluable contributions.
And the council has a resolution honoring and commending Rebecca N. Grill for her service as city administrator to the city of West Allis. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I don't have anything to add to what the mayor already said, other than, Rebecca, thank you for everything you've done for West Allis, and Oshkosh is lucky to have you.
I just needed to see if it was suitably engrossed.
Yeah.
Always checking.
There's a reason why the cameras aren't working today. I'll go turn them back on. I just want to thank everyone for everything for tonight and just for the last 10 years. Serving as a city administrator and city clerk has been an incredible experience, and I'm truly blessed to have had the opportunity to work with a dedicated team. The work we do in local government can be thankless, and I've been fortunate to work with people who care deeply about this community and making a difference. Mayor, thank you for believing in me and supporting me. It's been an honor to work with you. To the current and previous council members, thank you for your leadership and dedication to West Allis. I appreciate your ongoing support and encouragement. To the executive leadership team members, your professionalism, collaboration, and ability to tackle challenges head-on are what keep this city moving forward. It's been a privilege to work with such a strong and dedicated team. And to all of the staff, your dedication and hard work make a real impact every day. I've been incredibly fortunate to work with people who care so deeply about public service and the residents we serve. While I might be moving on to a new opportunity, I will always appreciate my time here and the relationship I built. West Allis is in great hands, and I look forward to seeing all the great things to come for the city. Thank you again for your support, your camaraderie, and for making this a place I will always hold close. Thank you.
The grill way.
Yes. That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep.
No rush.
Mayor Devine, I move
Alderman Haas.
on item L, the items not referred to committee. We are taking separate action on item number 10, and I move for approval of item 10.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. This is an opportunity for discussion if anybody would like to add anything. See if they get as choked up as I did. No speeches planned. Everything's said. Lovely. Awesome.
Nailed it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Easy. Easiest vote we ever had to make.
And Mayor Devine,
Alderman Haas.
on our consent agenda, are there any other items which any alderpersons wish for separate action? Then seeing none, I move for approval of the remainder of the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there is no discussion, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Noling. Aye. Rote.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grove.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keen. Aye. Novak.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Haas.
I move that the common council stand in recess until the conclusion of our committee meetings.
Second.
There's a motion to pause in 3 seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in recess.
We're going to start with item 44, Resolution 2025-0058, resolution to adopt the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin Water Utility Rate and Rule Order 6360-WR-111.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 45 is Resolution 2025-0045, resolution to confirm and adopt the report of the city engineer containing the schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of various sidewalks by concrete reconstruction.
Move to approve.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And last, item 46, resolution number 2025-0055, resolution to confirm and adopt the report of the city engineer containing the schedule of proposed assessments for improvements of various streets by concrete reconstruction.
Move to approve.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, motion carries. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
All right, very nice,
Oh, thank
Alderman
you.
Road. Going to call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order. We have item 54, 2025-0204, February 3rd, 2025, Public Safety Committee minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion carries. Item 55, 2024-1063, new operators, licensed bartender Class D operator application for Robert Burley. Is Mr. Burley here? Barley? Please come up to the podium. Thank you for having a lot of patience this evening. Usually our sessions don't go that long. So, with that being said,
Turn on your microphone, please.
yes, please do.
That do it? Yes, it did.
Okay, you're applying for a new bartender's license in the city of West Dallas. Typically, when you're called into council, there's things that may appear up on your record.
Sure.
That we will question and ask explanation before we would discuss or approve that bartender's license. So, with that being said, I just have a couple questions starting out. Do you currently tend bar in West Dallas?
Yes. Well, I have my provisional bartender's license. So yeah, I started bartending in West Dallas at Eck Bar.
Okay.
That was December 28th was my first day there.
Okay. All right. And is that a full-time job
No,
for you, or are you
no,
just?
part-time.
Okay.
Twice a month.
All right. And I see that your driver's license status is valid. So, what I see here on, you have, the thing that we draw caution to is you have had a prior sale to underage.
Yes.
And if I'm thinking correctly, I believe Melanie from Ekbar was brought in on that.
No, that was somebody else at Ekbar that had that recently.
Okay.
Mine happened over 10 years ago at Burnham Bowl.
Oh, okay. So it was a long while ago.
Yeah, I had my license previously in West Dallas. I bartended at Burnham Bowl for almost 2 decades.
Oh, geez.
And was licensed there for like 6 of those years.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You have a strong sense of understanding of
Yeah.
what we would
Yes,
expect
very much.
giving you a bartender's license. So, with that being said, what have you done differently to assure that you're not going to sell to anybody
Oh, I mean,
underage?
that whole incident was so embarrassing for me. I was working a private party for my wife's, well, then she was then my girlfriend, work party, and it was P.F. Chang's that she worked at, and you had to be 21 to work at P.F. Chang's. The Burnham Bowl was closed. It was only open to these people, and this person that apparently nobody knew got in, and I was the one that served him, and he ended up causing some problems outside, and that's how that all went down.
So big lesson
So,
learned.
huge lesson learned, and that will not be happening again for sure.
Okay, I can only reiterate to you what our expectations are when you have
Absolutely.
bartender's license, and expect that if there's any problems, you know what to do, you know to call the police, be cooperative, and check IDs.
Yes.
So that's all I have to say. Do any of the other council members have any discussion, questions? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
there's a motion, and there's a second by Alderman Turner. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, nay? The ayes have it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And thank you again for your patience. Okay, moving right along, item 56, 2025-0063, new operator's license, bartender, Class D operator application for Sarah Becker. Is Ms. Becker here? Hi, please come to the podium. It looks like the mic is on. So, Ms. Becker, you kind of heard the drill that we did with Mr. Burley. You're a new bartender license application. Where are you bartending currently?
I currently bartend, I have Milwaukee, so I'm on driving range off of Bull Light.
Okay, so you're not bartending in,
I would be starting at a West Dallas bar, Scooters.
okay, so you're gonna be tending bar at Scooters. Is this a full-time position for you?
No, just a couple times a month as a fill-in.
Okay, and your driver's license status currently is valid, I see. However, you do have some things that are on your record dating back from 2020. Can you please explain and offer the committee an understanding of what rehabilitation efforts you've made? Anything that would sway us in the yes column for you?
Yeah, I made a huge mistake. I left an establishment with one too many in my system and chose to drive. And so I got in trouble for that, got a DUI. I take Ubers everywhere. I don't drink and drive. I buy Ubers for my customers. I don't overserve them. If I find somebody that is overserved from they're around bar hopping, I will call them an Uber out of my own pocket. But I do not do that. I made a huge mistake and I learned my lesson drastically.
Okay, and that's good. And are you familiar, and this is just something you can pass along to the owner of Scooters, is there's a safe ride program.
Yeah,
So
they have
rather
that,
than
and
it come
so
out
does-
of your pocket.
Yeah,
it
they
would be
have that,
something
but
to
it's
look into.
quicker if I just do it on my app.
Makes sense.
And it just goes, that way.
Makes sense. And considering that this was in 2020 and you have a valid driver's license status, I would assume that you took all your classes that you needed to do, made good on
Correct,
your
right
fines.
away. I did everything I had to do
Okay.
ASAP right away, yep.
Okay. Well, I'm comfortable with your answers, just reiterating what I said to the previous applicant, that we expect you to, call the police if there's a problem, and do what you can to make sure everybody's safe in the community. So, anyone else have any questions?
No. Move to
Okay.
approve?
All right, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 57, 2025-0064, new operator's license, bartender, Class D operator application for Jason Smith. Is Mr. Smith here? Has there been a call-in? Okay. Is there a motion?
I move to deny based on the record and failure to appear.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Item 58, 2025-0512, new operator's license, bartender, Class D operator application for Haley Negron or Negron? Is Ms. Negron here? Okay, same thing. Anybody call? Okay, is there a motion?
I move to deny based on the record and non-appearance.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I moved. Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Smooth at this, Suzette. I am. How do you get there? Is that-
council back to order, and I will ask her to call the roll.
Alderperson Nolan.
Aye. Here.
Rote.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham. Here. Grobe.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Helverson.
Here.
Keen.
Here.
Novak.
Here.
10 present.
We have a quorum. Before we dive into the committee reports, I am going to allow our city attorney to enlighten us with some wisdom.
No pressure. All right. The council already voted on item 9 on your agenda prior to the recess. At that time, I was unaware that the licensee wished to make an argument before the council. So their attorney did approach me and indicate that state law does allow a licensee to make argument before the council after the findings of fact have been submitted. So I'd recommend that the council reopen that item, allow the licensee to make their argument, and then make a decision after that.
Okay, is there any objection to reopening?
Yeah, no objection, Mayor, and I move that we reopen item 9.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The item is reopened. Attorney Bobbitt?
Well, good evening. I'm Attorney Vincent Bobbitt. I represent Super Bottle LLC, which is basically across the street. And it was previously heard by the committee, the licensing committee, and then, of course, before your entire board. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing for me to speak, to ask you to reconsider the 10-day suspension. My client has basically been there for about a year, and they took over a business that was, from what they described to me, as kind of fledgling, where they had expired items. They took care of that, and they enhanced the grocery sales, and basically it's run by Rupert Inderjeet and his son. Unfortunately, they had 2 instances in which they sold to an underage. It was basically a sting operation. I will tell you they accepted responsibility for both instances and were fined and paid those fines. One of the things I think that they should have done is probably had an attorney or somebody else to represent their case before you decided what kind of punishment you would give them. And I say that because when it came the last time, they had mentioned to you that they obtained an ID checker. And they weren't able, or they did not elaborate what preventative steps they were going to take to have this not happen in the future. Well, they do have an ID checker, and their policy is every single customer has to have an ID, not off the phone, because that was a recommendation that you thought really didn't make any sense. They actually have to have a physical document verifying their age, similar to a couple of our grocery store chains that have that same requirement. You may think of why would you card somebody like me in my 70s, but that's what they're doing. And that wasn't brought out before you. Also, I think another thing that they didn't tell you is that they basically have 30% of their sales as food, 60% is alcohol, which represents quite a large portion of it, and the other 10%, 5% is cigarettes, and 5% would be lottery tickets, things like oil and salt and things along that line. But the 60% alcohol represents quite a thing for them in that is how they pay their bills, why they're there in the first place, in other words, profit. So in addition to the citations, they had an additional penalty with the 10 days, would be basically about $2,500. That being said, I think the major thing that I can tell you is I ask you to reconsider the 10-day suspension. I will tell you that it is operated by Rupinderjit and his son. They ID everybody. I don't think you'll see him again, but the one thing you would have is if you decide to reconsider the penalty is if they did violate again, you would then be able to extract a pretty heavy toll upon that store. So with that being said, I ask you to consider the 10-day suspension to possibly a warning letter or a lesser amount of days. And I know that the owner's here to answer any questions you may have, and I can answer some of your questions if you had them. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Bobbitt. Are there
Mayor
questions?
Devine?
Alderwoman
Okay,
Grisham, and then
as chair
Alderwoman
of the
Novak.
Public Safety Committee, I want to thank you for coming in. And I also want to thank Yunderjit Singh and his family for being so thoughtful when we had the hearing. To be very clear, Yunderjit took full responsibility. I appreciated the fact that he came with remedies that maybe you're not aware of, but one of the remedies he came forth was a ID checker. I think there was discussion on their part about checking people's IDs on the phone, which isn't legal in my understanding. So I appreciate how this could impact his business, but I also understand that we have these laws in place, and you have to take a lot of consideration to the safety of our community. Yunderjit could have had anywhere up to 90 days of a suspension, and because he was thoughtful, because he did put things in place to reassure us as a committee and now council that this won't happen again, we felt that we'd go on the lenient side, which was the 10 days. If we start setting a precedent in our city to say, okay, now you know, so we're gonna slap your hand and come back and if you do it again type of thing, that's not how it works. There's municipalities, sir, that if you sell to underage, you're done. Your license is gone. We're not one of those municipalities. I feel we were very fair. I feel we took a lot of thought and consideration and also gave them a bit of a break, in my opinion, because this impacts a larger base even above if a bar sold to somebody who's underage, because that's one individual. We explained how serious this could be if somebody underage came in and bought cases of alcohol and took it to a party or a bonfire. And $2,500 to me is this compared to my kid or your kid on the street after drinking illegally and getting into a car accident. And that's the seriousness of it. So as much as I appreciate they're trying to make a living, I too make a living with a business, I have to be responsible. I don't feel they were being responsible, although I appreciate their efforts now going forward that they will be responsible. And that's it.
I could just respond to you that they take this very seriously. And they did admit their culpability, paid the citations, also the suspension that was given. They wanted me to come here to ask you to reconsider it. I don't necessarily think if you reconsider it, you're setting a dangerous precedent, but I can assure you that they think this is a very serious matter. And both of them have a record as a result of it. As I saw with earlier, when somebody came in to get a license, you asked them about, the one was 10 years old, where he sold to an underage, and it's still there. And both of them still have that on there as well.
Right, and if I may, Mayor Devine.
Go ahead.
Because he took those steps and those measures, that's why we gave the grace that we did. I can only speak for one as the chair of the committee, but we made our decision. And I would not personally be in support of reconsideration on this item.
But nevertheless, I still ask for that consideration.
I appreciate that.
Mayor Devine.
Alderwoman Novak.
This question is actually for the committee chair, Alderwoman Grisham. I had heard and read that they had 2 underage cells. What is the time frame on those?
If we look back, I believe it was within a matter of months.
Okay.
I can address that if you
And
like.
if I may continue.
I'm sorry.
When these hearings are brought to us, you have to have 2 within 1 year. And these are not, just for clarity, they're not stings. They are referred to as compliance checks.
Oh, okay. Well, I will tell you that the one was July 30th of 2024, and the second one was November 11th of 2024.
Okay, then that was within 1 year, as the chair had stated. Okay, thank you.
Alderwoman Noling.
Also have a question for Alderwoman Grisham. Do we have a precedent for the 10-day? I believe we do, but would feel better having that validated.
It is the minimum. As I said, it can be 10 to 90 days. The only time on record that we did anything that was different was with the Thirsty Cactus. And you were here, I believe, and just for the record, there was a 20-day suspension ordered with a 15-day stay, I believe, if I'm correct. So they were closed for 5 days. And if they had any problems in that year or licensing period, then that would be retroactive, and they'd have to close for 20 days. Where we discussed it, that would, in my opinion, set a precedent going forward for other businesses that do violate, because they say, well, listen, it's on the record already that you did this for Thirsty Cactus, now you did it for Super Bottle. Why am I gonna be any different, and why won't you give me that grace as well? So I believe it's very important that, although this is a difficult lesson, it's part of being in business and understanding what your responsibility is holding that license. And I can't stress that any greater than I am right now. So as much as I appreciate the efforts, this wasn't just a one-time thing. If they really truly learned their lesson, they wouldn't have had to.
Mayor Devine.
Alderwoman Keene.
I would say my recommendation would be that this was heard in front of the committee. The committee made a consensus. I believe it passed 5-0. Again, to that point, the slap on the hand was the first time. Then they did it again. So it feel like they had the chance to correct it at time 1, and yet it happened again time 2. I believe that the measures are in place now because the license is on the line. And while we appreciate those changes, I feel like part of those changes were made because now you were called to the carpet and now you have to be responsible for those. So my recommendation would be to go with what the committee recommended at a 5-0 basis, and that we move on from this item.
Thank you. I'm going to check Attorney Decker. What is our next?
A member of the council has to make a motion.
I made a motion to deny a reconsideration.
Second.
I think it has to be the
deny
committee.
reconsideration?
Is that deny reconsideration?
So at this point in time, the committee's recommendation is what's before the council because it was just reopened. The chair can move for adoption of that. If anyone wishes to amend what the committee did, they can make a motion for that amendment.
I make a motion to approve the previous decision from the Public Safety
Committee
Committee.
recommendation, yep.
Yep,
So
thank you.
if
Second.
based-
And then we need a second from that committee, correct?
Correct. No seconds needed on the committee recommendation.
Second, yeah.
But, so right now, if anyone wants to change what the committee did, now's the time to make that motion. If not, then you just call for a vote.
Okay, there is a motion before us then to maintain the committee's decision and a second. There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, let's please do a roll call vote.
Alderperson Noling. Aye. Grote.
Aye.
Turner. Aye. Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grove.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keene.
Aye.
Novak.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine, may I just add something, because I just thought, not to the motion. This does not mean a closure of your business. If you sell food and otherwise, Kayla, am I correct on that? You can still remain open and sell lottery tickets and cigarettes and things like that. It's just no alcohol sales.
Thank you. Now, let's go back to the Administration Committee, and I will ask the clerk to read out that report.
The Administration Committee recommended passage of item 43.
Mayor Devine, I move in accordance with the committee report.
Thank you, Alderman. Is there any discussion? If not, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Noling. Aye. Grote.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grove.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keene.
Aye.
Novak.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Then we will proceed to the Public Works Committee.
The Public Works Committee recommended adoption of items 44 to 46.
Mayor Devine, I move in accordance of the committee report.
Thank you, Alderman Rote. If there is no discussion, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Noling. Aye. Rote.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grove.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keene. Novak.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Then we will do the Economic Development Committee.
We'll read out item 7 separately. The Economic Development Committee recommended granting of item 47, adoption of items 48 and 49, adoption of item 50 as amended, 90-day notice for Thursday to Saturday event, no notice for Monday to Wednesday events, and it includes the first Sunday in June and the first in October. And also recommended approval of items 51 through 53.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine, I move in accordance of the committee report.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Knowling.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grove.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Novak.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. And now we have item 7, I believe.
Yes. Mayor Devine, I move in accordance of the committee report.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I sure did. Hearing none, we will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Knowling.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
No.
Grisham.
No.
Grove.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Novak.
Aye.
8 in favor, 2 opposed.
Motion carries. Thank you. And then we have the Public Safety Committee.
The Public Safety Committee recommended approval of item 54, granting items 55 and 56, and denial of both 57 and 58 based on the record and non-appearance.
Mayor Devine, I move to approve the committee report.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. If there is no discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Haas.
I move that we adjourn until our next scheduled council meeting, Tuesday, March 4th.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.